All right, here are our notes about angles, planes, and points. So an angle is actually made up of two rays joined by an endpoint. So when we draw it, we can pick one point as an endpoint. We'll draw a ray in one direction, we'll draw another ray from the same endpoint in a different direction. And that creates an angle. Now the way we name an angle, well actually let me step backwards for a second. An angle measures basically how much these two rays are spread apart, and it measures it on an arc. So it's a measurement of how wide this part is from here to here, and it's measured in degrees. But right now we're just going to talk about naming it for now. We'll have a whole unit about angles devoted to more specifics. So the way you name it is you name it using the vertex. That's one way of naming it. So the vertex in this example is this endpoint right here that they both share. So I'm going to put the letter A on that vertex. I'm actually going to label it. You might want to do that as well. And so I can name it using just that letter, the vertex, angle A. I also can name it using 3 capital letters, or 3 points, and when I do that, I want to use the vertex and 2 other points, so I need a point on each ray. So I'm going to put a point up here, label it C, put a point down here, label it R. So each ray has a point and their common endpoint has a point. Or I can name it using the number inside. So by the number inside. And so what that means is sometimes a diagram might be really complicated with a lot of angles, and letters might make it even more complicated, so that sometimes they may just put like a number in here. Not a degree number, but just a number labeling it. So like this might be angle 3. When we name it, I'm going to jump to the naming part first. We use the angle symbol. It looks like this, kind of like a less than symbol. It's always that size, no matter how big or small the angle is, whether it's right or obtuse or acute. And we can name it with its vertex, so we can call it angle A. Another option is naming it with the 3 capital letters, so we would pick either CAR or RAC. We want to make sure the vertex is in the middle. So angle car or angle rack. Or we can name it by the number inside it, so we could call it just angle 3. So those are the 4 options for naming this specific angle. What I want to write under the facts is that important piece that we said, the vertex is always in the middle. And we can write of the name here. Okay, so that's an angle. Then we have the other 2 things that you looked at the whiteboards, and one of them is a plane. A plane is usually drawn as a slanted 4-sided figure. I saw a lot of people saying quadrilateral, which means 4 sides, or parallelogram, or trapezoid. We were trying to remember the name of what it looks like. It's usually drawn slanted, so it tends to look like this, like a parallelogram. And in the picture it had also like arrows going like this, so that I'm just drawing to remind us that it goes on forever. So like the wall in your classroom or bedroom is considered a plane. You got to imagine it going on forever, up and down and left and right, and that's really what a plane is. It's kind of an imaginary idea where we have some tangible examples of it in our world. It can be named with either 3 points that are on it or 1 capital letter. And I'll show you what that looks like in the diagram we're going to add to it right now. So if there are 3 points on it, they would each have dots. So it would be something like this with an X, a Y, and a Z. Or in the corner they may put like a script or cursive-y kind of letter, like a Q or an R or a P, kind of like the same thing with a line. And when we name it, it doesn't have a symbol. we just use the word plane. So if we're going to name it using its 3 points, the points that I had on there were X, Y, and Z, so I could put them in any order, it doesn't matter. I usually just put them in alphabetical order. Or we can name it with the word plane and use just this Q. And so we'll know that the Q is like a way to name it by itself if it doesn't have a dot next to it. So either the things with dots, 3 of them, or the one that's in the corner, kind of scripty by itself. One thing to remember about a plane is that it goes on forever in all directions. And it is 2-dimensional. So I'm going to write 2D here. All the other things are 1-dimensional, but this is 2D. And then our last piece is a point. This is the easiest one. It's modeled by a dot and then a capital letter. So it's drawn as a dot. It's named by 1 capital letter. And so it doesn't have a symbol, so either it's just the letter by itself. If you hear P or B or A and without the word point, that's signifying that that letter is a point. Or sometimes they'll put the word point in front of it and it'll be like point P. So it doesn't have a symbol. So either it's just a capital letter or it's the word point in front of it. And one thing to remember about a point is you can't measure it. It's just a dot. So it's really just a location. So it doesn't have a shape or size. So it's not really a circle, it's just a dot. It's marking or marks a location. Okay, so go ahead and get that glued in your notebook after lines, segments, and brays, and then you should be all set. Thanks for watching.